The trading station Velaris Prime floated in the darkness of space like a city made of metal and light. Thousands of ships came and went every day. Dozens of species walked through its wide halls, buying and selling goods from across the galaxy. It was a place of business and peace, where wars were supposed to stop at the door. Commander Daniel Carter stood near a window and watched the ships move outside. He was 45 years old, with gray in his short hair and old scars on his face and hands. He had been a soldier for more than 20 years. He had seen friends die. He had killed enemies. He had done things that still visited him in his dreams. Now, he commanded the human frigate Resolute, a small and aging ship with a crew of 62 people. His crew was good. Lieutenant Laura Bennett handled weapons and tactics. She was a small woman with sharp eyes and a voice that never shook, even in battle. She had survived 3 colony sieges before joining the fleet. Chief Engineer Marcus Cole kept the old ship running through skill and stubbornness. He was a big man with gentle hands who talked to the engines like they were his children. Dr. Hannah Pierce ran the medical bay. She had gray eyes that had seen too much death but still held kindness. They had come to Velaris Prime for supplies. Food, medicine, spare parts. Simple things. Daniel hoped for a quiet visit. He did not get one. The Corvith Dominion had sent ships to the station too. The Corvith were tall reptilian creatures with scales like dog armor and eyes like yellow fire. They had been expanding their territory for decades, taking what they wanted through strength. They believed power was the only truth in the universe. The weak existed to serve the strong. Their leader at the station was Warlord Desek. He stood 8 feet tall and wore the bones of his enemies on his armor. When he walked through the station halls, other species moved out of his way. When he spoke, his voice rumbled like thunder. Daniel first saw Desek at a diplomatic meeting. Representatives from many species sat around a large table, discussing trade routes and border agreements. The human ambassador, a patient woman named Claire Dawson, spoke calmly about cooperation and mutual benefit. Desek laughed at her. The sound was harsh and ugly. Humans talk of peace because you are too weak for war, the warlord said. His yellow eyes moved across the human delegation with contempt. Your bodies are soft. Your lives are short. You break too easily to matter in this galaxy. Claire did not react to the insult. She simply continued with her points. Daniel admired her control. His own hands had tightened into fists under the table. After the meeting, Daniel walked through the station market with Laura. They needed to check on their supplies. The market was crowded with aliens of all shapes and sizes. Smells of strange foods filled the air. Merchants called out prices in a dozen languages. Then Daniel heard a cry of pain. He pushed through the crowd and found a group of Corvith soldiers standing over an old human man. The man was on the ground, blood running from a cut on his face. His goods were scattered around him. Broken pottery, spilled grain. The work of months destroyed in seconds. Please, the old man said. His name was George Palmer. He was a trader who had been working this route for 30 years. I did nothing wrong. One of the Corvith kicked him in the ribs. You walked too slowly in front of us, human. You wasted our time. The other Corvith laughed. Daniel stepped forward. That is enough. The Corvith turned to look at him. They saw his uniform. They saw he was a military officer. They did not care. Walk away, small creature, the lead soldier said. This does not concern you. He is human. He is my concern. Laura moved to stand beside Daniel. Her hand rested near her weapon. Around them, the crowd had gone silent. Other species watched with curiosity. No one stepped forward to help. The Corvith soldier moved toward Daniel. He was a foot taller and probably twice as strong. His hand went to the blade at his belt. Do you want to die for this old man? Daniel looked up at him without fear. I have been ready to die for my people since I was 18 years old. Have you? Something in his voice made the Corvus pause. The soldier looked into Daniel's eyes and saw something that confused him. There was no fear there. No submission. Only a quiet readiness for violence that seemed wrong in such a small creature. The moment stretched. Then a new voice cut through the tension. What is happening here? Warlord Desek pushed through the crowd. His elite guards flanked him. He looked at the scene. The bleeding human on the ground. His soldiers facing the human officer. The watching crowd. Commander Carter, Desek said. He had learned Daniel's name. Are you interfering with my soldiers? Your soldiers were beating an unarmed old man. He offended them. They responded. This is natural, not to us. Desek studied Daniel for a long moment. Then he smiled, showing rows of sharp teeth. You humans are strange. You have such fire in your eyes, but such weakness in your bodies. It is almost sad. He waved his hand, and his soldiers stepped back. The warlord had no interest in a fight over an old traitor. It was beneath him. Enjoy your peace while it lasts, human, Desek said as he turned away. Soon you will learn what happens to weak species in this galaxy. Daniel helped George Palmer to his feet. Lavra called for medical help. The crowd slowly returned to normal, as if nothing had happened. But something had changed for Daniel. He had seen the truth in the Sek's eyes. The Corvus did not just dislike humans. They saw humans as prey. 3 hours later, Daniel received a coded message from Earth Command Intelligence. The Corvus were planning to attack the human colony on Meridian 4. They believed it would be an easy victory. A simple demonstration of power to show the galaxy that humans were not worth respecting. Daniel read the message twice. Then he called his crew to the bridge. We are leaving, he said. Set course for Meridian 4, maximum speed. The Resolute left Velaris Prime within the hour, racing toward a battle that would change how the galaxy saw humanity forever. The Resolute pushed through space at speeds it was never designed to handle. The old ship groaned and shook as its engines burned hot. Warning lights flashed on every deck. But the crew did not slow down. They could not slow down. Meridian 4 was 5 days away, and the Corvus fleet would arrive in 6. Marcus Cole had not slept in 30 hours. He moved through the engine room like a man possessed. Checking systems, replacing parts, talking to the machines in a soft voice. His hands were burned from hot metal. His eyes were red from exhaustion. But he kept working. She was not built for this, he said to Daniel when the commander came to check on him. But she will hold. I will make her hold. Daniel put a hand on the big man's shoulder. I know you will. On the bridge, Lavra Bennett studied tactical data on her screen. The numbers were bad. The Corvus fleet had 12 warships. Heavy cruisers with thick armor and powerful weapons. The Resolute was a frigate, small and fast but not built for a straight fight. The colony had no military ships at all. Just farming equipment and mining tools. We cannot win a direct battle, Lavra said. She did not say it with fear. She said it as a fact. Then we will not fight directly, Daniel replied. We will make them pay for every meter they advance. We will buy time for reinforcements. Reinforcements are 9 days away. Then we will buy 3 days. Lavra nodded. She had faced worse odds before. During the siege of New Helsinki, she had been a young soldier trapped in a city with 2,000 civilians and no military support. Raiders had surrounded them. Everyone said they would die in a week. They held out for 87 days. By the end, Lavra had learned that humans could survive things that should have killed them. She told Daniel about it during the long journey. They sat in the small crew lounge, drinking bad coffee and waiting for the next crisis. The raiders thought we would surrender, Lavra said. They cut off our food. They cut off our water. They bombed us every night. But we found ways to survive. We ate things I do not want to remember. We collected rainwater. We built weapons from garbage. How many survived? 1,143. Out of 2,000. Daniel was quiet for a moment. That is still more than half. Yes, and we made the raiders pay for every single person they killed. By the end, they were afraid to enter the city. They just sat outside and waited for us to die. But we did not die. We held until the fleet arrived. Marcus joined them, finally taking a break from the engines. He brought his own coffee and sat down heavily. You know why I joined the military? He asked. No one answered, so he continued. My family lived on a border colony. When I was 19, raiders came. Same story as always. They wanted our resources. We were in the way. His voice was calm, but his hands tightened around his cup. My wife and my daughter were killed in the first attack. I survived because I was working in the mines that day. Underground, safe, while my family burned. I'm sorry, Daniel said. I rebuilt myself through purpose. I decided that I would spend the rest of my life protecting other people, so that no one else would have to feel what I felt. Dr. Hannah Pierce entered the lounge and heard the end of the conversation. She poured herself some coffee and sat down. We all have our reasons, she said. I became a doctor because I watched my brother die when I was 16. He was in an accident. There was no one trained to help him. He bled out in my arms while I tried to stop it with my hands. She looked at her hands. They were steady. They had saved hundreds of lives since that day. I joined the military because soldiers die in terrible ways. I wanted to be there when it happened. I wanted to make sure no soldier dies alone and afraid if I can help it. Daniel listened to his crew share their pain. He understood why they fought. Humans did not become warriors because they loved violence. They became warriors because they had lost things, because they refused to let others suffer what they had suffered. He pulled up historical files on the main screen. Images of Earth appeared. Images of war. Most species in the galaxy evolved on peaceful worlds, Daniel said. Stable climates. Few predators. Gentle environments. They never needed to become hard. The images showed ancient battles. Swords and spears. Blood and fire. Earth was different. Our world tried to kill us every day. Ice ages that froze half the planet. Diseases that wiped out millions. Predators that hunted us before we learned to hunt them. Natural disasters that destroyed entire civilizations. More images. World wars. Mushroom clouds. Cities in ruins. We almost destroyed ourselves many times. We built weapons that could end all life on our planet. We used them on each other. We survived anyway. Lavra pointed at one image. That is why other species do not understand us. They see that we are small and soft. They think we are weak. But we are not weak. We are survivors. We have been fighting for our existence since before we could walk upright. And we are still here, Marcus added. Daniel nodded. The Corvith think Meridian 4 will be easy. They think humans will break. They do not understand what they are facing. He contacted Governor Patricia Holt on Meridian 4. She appeared on screen. A woman in her 60s with short gray hair and the straight posture of a former Marine. She had retired from military service 20 years ago to become a farmer. Now war was coming to her colony. Commander Carter, she said, I received your warning. What are your orders? Evacuate the children to the underground bunkers. Arm every adult who can hold a weapon. Fortify defensive positions around the main settlement. And Governor? Yes? Call in every favor you have. Every retired soldier, every veteran, every person who has ever held a weapon in anger. We are going to need all of them." Patricia smiled. It was not a pleasant smile. It was the smile of a woman who remembered how to kill. "I was hoping you would say that. I will see you when you arrive, Commander. Meridian 4 will be ready." The screen went dark. Daniel turned to his crew. "Get some rest. All of you. We have 2 more days until we arrive. After that, sleep will be a luxury we cannot afford." They scattered to their quarters. Daniel stayed on the bridge alone, watching the stars streak past. 12 warships against 1 frigate and a farming colony. The math said they would lose. But Daniel had never been good at math. He was good at surviving. And he would make the Corvette learn what that meant. The Resolute arrived at Meridian 4 with smoke pouring from its engines and half its systems running on emergency power. Marcus had kept his promise. The ship had held together, but it would need days of repair before it could fight at full strength. They did not have days. Daniel looked at the planet below. Meridian 4 was a beautiful world. Green forests covered the northern continent. Blue oceans sparkled in the sunlight. The main colony sat in a valley surrounded by mountains. Home to 8,000 humans who had come here to build new lives far from Earth, but now those lives were in danger. Governor Patricia Holt met Daniel at the landing pad. She was wearing old combat armor that still fit her well. A rifle hung across her back. Behind her stood a group of men and women in similar gear. Former soldiers. Veterans who had traded their weapons for farming tools years ago. "Commander Carter," Patricia said. "Welcome to Meridian 4. I wish the circumstances were better." "So do I, Governor. What is our status?" "All children and non-combatants are in the underground bunkers. We have 612 people ready to fight. Most are former military. Some are just brave. Weapons? Standard rifles and sidearms. Some heavy weapons from the colonial armory. We also have mining explosives and industrial equipment that can be used as weapons." Daniel nodded. It was not much, but it was something. Over the next hours, he walked through the colony with his crew. They inspected defenses, checked weapons, and talked to the people who would fight beside them. Laura set up a training area near the main square. Civilians came to learn how to shoot, how to take cover, how to fight. Most of them had never held a weapon before. They were teachers and farmers and shopkeepers. They were scared, but they learned. "You will not become soldiers in one day," Laura told them. "But I can teach you how to survive. Stay in cover. Never shoot unless you have a target. When you run out of ammunition, run. There is no shame in retreat. Dead heroes do not protect anyone." A young man named Kevin Brooks stood in the front of the group. He was barely 20 years old, with the soft face of someone who had never seen violence. He had been studying agriculture before all this started. Now he held a rifle like it might bite him. "What if we are surrounded?" Kevin asked. "What if there is nowhere to run?" Laura looked at him for a long moment. "Then you fight until you cannot fight anymore. And you make them pay for every breath they take." Meanwhile, Marcus worked with the colony engineers to build traps and defensive systems. They rigged mining explosives along the main roads into town. They converted farming vehicles into mobile weapons platforms. They built barriers from metal and stone and anything else they could find. "This is good work," Marcus said to a teenage girl who was helping him wire detonators. Her name was Amy, and her hands were steady despite her fear. "My dad was an engineer," Amy said. "He taught me how to build things. I never thought I would use it for this. Building things that protect people is still building things." Dr. Hannah Pierce set up a field hospital in the largest underground bunker. She organized supplies, trained volunteers in basic first aid, and prepared for the worst. The bunker was cold and dark, but it was safe. If the colony fell, the wounded would have a place to go. We will see terrible things tomorrow, Hannah told her volunteers. People will be hurt in ways that will make you want to look away. Do not look away. Stay focused. Every second you waste could cost a life. As night fell over Meridian 4, Daniel walked through the colony alone. The streets were quiet. Most people were with their families, spending what might be their last night together. He saw an elderly couple sitting on their porch, holding hands and watching the stars. He saw a mother reading a story to her young son before sending him to the bunkers. He saw a group of teenage friends laughing together, trying to pretend they were not afraid. Near the main square, Daniel found Kevin Brooks sitting alone on a bench. The young man stared at the rifle in his hands like it was something from another world. Cannot sleep? Daniel asked. Kevin looked up. No, sir. I keep thinking about tomorrow. Daniel sat down beside him. That is normal. Anyone who says they are not afraid before a battle is either lying or stupid. Are you afraid, Commander? Daniel thought about the question. Yes, I am afraid of failing the people who depend on me. I am afraid of watching good people die. I am afraid of not being strong enough when it matters. But you have done this before. You have survived battles. Many battles. And I have been afraid before every single one. Daniel looked up at the stars. Fear is not the enemy, Kevin. Fear keeps us sharp. Fear keeps us alive. The enemy is giving up. The enemy is letting fear control you instead of using it. Kevin was quiet for a moment. Then he asked the question that was really on his mind. Do you think we can win? Daniel did not lie to him. I do not know. The Corvith are stronger. They have more ships, more soldiers, more weapons. By any logical measure, we should lose. Then why are we fighting? Because some things matter more than winning. Because if we do not fight, other human colonies will be next. Because the people in those bunkers are counting on us to give them a chance. Daniel turned to look at Kevin directly. And because humans have faced impossible odds before and survived. Our history is full of battles we should have lost. We are still here. Far above the planet, aboard his flagship, Warlord Desek reviewed his battle plans. His fleet was ready. His warriors were eager. Tomorrow they would crush this human colony and show the galaxy that the Corvith Dominion feared nothing. His second-in-command, Sub-Commander Vrexus, approached with a data tablet. Warlord, intelligence reports suggest the humans are preparing to resist. Desek laughed. Of course they are. Prey always struggles before the end. The reports mention unusual behavior. Humans apparently fight beyond rational limits. They do not surrender even when defeat is certain. Propaganda. Fear tactics. I have seen humans. They are small and fragile. Their bones break easily. Their bodies cannot handle damage that any Corvith warrior would survive. Desek waved his hand dismissively. They will break tomorrow. They always break. Vrexus nodded and withdrew. But doubt remained in his mind. He had read the reports carefully. Humans did strange things in battle. They threw themselves on explosives to save their friends. They kept fighting with wounds that should be fatal. They valued things beyond survival. It made no sense to him. But it made him uneasy. On the planet's surface, dawn began to lighten the sky. Daniel stood on a hill overlooking the colony. Patricia joined him. They watched the sun rise over the mountains. Beautiful morning, Patricia said. Yes, let us hope we see tomorrow's sunrise too. In the distance, sensors detected the Corvith fleet dropping out of faster-than-light travel. 12 warships, bristling with weapons ready for conquest. Daniel's communicator buzzed. Laura's voice came through. Commander, they are here. He took a deep breath. All stations, prepare for battle. This is it. The defense of Meridian 4 had begun. Warlord Desek's voice boomed across all communication channels. Humans of Meridian 4, this is your final warning. Surrender now, and we will grant you quick deaths. Resist, and you will suffer. Daniel stood on the bridge of the Resolute. His ship was damaged, outnumbered, and outgunned. None of that showed on his face. He opened a channel to respond. Desic, this colony is under human protection. You will not take it. Turn your ships around and leave. This is your only warning. Laughter came through the speakers. Harsh, cruel laughter from a predator who saw only prey. Brave words from a dead man, Desic said. Kill them all. The Corvith fleet moved forward. Daniel watched them come on his tactical display. 12 warships against 1 frigate. The numbers were hopeless. But numbers were not everything. Lavra, target their lead cruiser. Aim for the engines. Yes, Commander. The Resolute darted forward, using the planet's orbital debris field for cover. Chunks of rock and old satellites provided shields against enemy fire. Laura's weapons found their mark, and the lead Corvith cruiser shuddered as its engines exploded. 1 down, Lavra said. 11 to go. The battle became a deadly game of hide and seek. The Resolute was faster and more agile than the heavy Corvith ships. Daniel used every advantage he had. He dove between asteroids. He hid in sensor shadows. He struck quickly and retreated before the enemy could respond. Marcus worked miracles in the engine room. When a power conduit exploded, he rerouted through backup systems. When shields failed, he vented atmosphere from empty sections to stop the fires. He talked to the ship like a man soothing a wounded animal. Come on, girl, he whispered as another explosion rocked the deck. Just a little longer. You can do this. The Resolute destroyed 2 more Corvith ships and crippled 2 others. But the damage was adding up. Fires burned on multiple decks. 30 crew members were injured. The weapons were running low on ammunition. Then a Corvith missile found its mark. The explosion tore through the Resolute's hull. Half the bridge crew was killed instantly. Daniel was thrown against a wall. Blood ran down his face from a gash on his forehead. Alarm screamed. The ship began to fall toward the planet. All hands, abandon ship, Daniel ordered. Get to the escape pods. Marcus, can you control the descent? I can try to crash us near the colony, Marcus replied. His voice was strained. Better than burning up an atmosphere. Do it. Everyone else, get out now. Lavra grabbed Daniel's arm. What about you? I am staying with Marcus. Someone needs to help him fly this wreck. The Resolute fell through the atmosphere like a burning meteor. Daniel and Marcus fought the controls together, trying to aim their crash toward an empty field near the colony. The heat was incredible. The ship screamed around them. They hit the ground hard. Everything went black. When Daniel woke up, he was lying in dirt and twisted metal. Marcus was pulling him out of the wreckage. The big engineer had burns on his arms and a deep cut on his leg, but he was alive. We made it, Marcus said. Can you walk? Daniel tested his legs. Pain shot through his body, but nothing was broken. Yes, let us find the others. On the ground, the battle was already raging. Corvith landing craft had breached the atmosphere. Thousands of enemy warriors poured out, charging toward the colony with weapons ready. They expected easy victory. They did not find it. Patricia led the first defense line. Her former soldiers held their positions with discipline and fury. They have built strong barriers and dug deep trenches. The Corvith had to fight for every meter. Hold the line, Patricia shouted. Her rifle never stopped firing. Make them pay. The Corvith were shocked by the resistance. These were supposed to be farmers and civilians. They were supposed to break and run. Instead, they fought like cornered animals. They fought like creatures who had nothing left to lose. A Corvette captain reported to Thesek. "Warlord, the humans are not surrendering. They continue fighting even with severe wounds. Our casualties are much higher than expected. Then send more troops. Crush them." More landing craft descended. The colony's defenders were pushed back, fighting from building to building, street to street. The air filled with smoke and the sounds of battle. Kevin Brooks found himself alone at a defensive position. His squad had been killed in a Corvette assault. He was wounded in the shoulder, bleeding badly, surrounded by enemies. Logic said he should run. Kevin did not run. He remembered what Laura had told him. He stayed in cover. He picked his targets carefully. He made every shot count. For 6 hours, he held that position alone. When reinforcements finally arrived, they found him sitting in a pile of spent ammunition, surrounded by dead Corvette warriors. "How many?" the relief squad leader asked. Kevin looked at the bodies around him. "I stopped counting at 20. Dr. Hannah Pierce worked in the field hospital without rest. Wounded soldiers came in faster than she could treat them. The bunker floor was slick with blood. The air smelled like burned flesh and medicine. "Keep pressure on that wound," she told a volunteer. "You, start in 4. You prepare the surgical table." A young soldier was brought in with his left arm missing below the elbow. He was conscious, staring at the stump with wide eyes. "Am I going to die?" he asked. Hannah looked him in the eyes. "Not today. I will not allow it." She saved 37 lives that night. Some of them should have died. Their wounds were too severe. Their blood loss was too great. But Hannah refused to give up on any of them. She fought for each life as hard as the soldiers outside fought for the colony. The battle raged through the day and into the night. The Corvette slowly gained ground, but the cost was terrible. For every human who fell, 5 Corvettes died. The invaders had expected easy prey. They found warriors instead. Patricia led a counterattack to retake the water treatment facility. The Corvette had planned to poison the colony's water supply. 40 colonists followed Patricia into the building, fighting room to room against enemy soldiers twice their size. They won. Patricia took a blade wound to her side, but refused medical treatment until the facility was secure. "Water is life," she said, pressing a bandage to her wound. "Without water, the people in the bunkers die. This building stays in our hands." As dawn approached, the Corvette forces had taken half the colony, but they had paid with thousands of lives. Their commanders were confused. Their warriors were afraid. These humans did not fight like any enemy they had faced before. A Corvette soldier reported that he had seen a human woman continue fighting after being shot 3 times. She killed 4 warriors before she finally fell. Another reported a human man who threw himself onto a grenade to save his squad. The explosion killed him instantly, but his friends survived. Another reported finding humans dragging their wounded to safety while under fire, refusing to leave anyone behind even when it meant dying themselves. None of it made sense to the Corvette. These creatures should have surrendered long ago. Their bodies were damaged beyond repair. Their defenses were collapsing. Logic said they should give up, but humans did not fight with logic. They fought with something else. Something the Corvette did not have words for. Thesek watched the battle from orbit, growing angrier by the hour. He had expected victory in hours. Now his forces were stuck in a grinding fight against farmers and old soldiers. "Enough," he said. "I will end this myself." He gathered his elite guard, 100 of the best Corvette warriors, and descended to the planet's surface. If the humans wanted a fight, he would give them one they would never forget. Daniel saw the warlord shuttle land near the colony center. He gathered the remaining defenders around him. They were bloodied and exhausted. Many were wounded. All of them were still standing. "Thesek is coming," Daniel said. This is where we make our stand. This is where we show them what humans are made of. The final battle was about to begin. The sun rose over Meridian 4 on the second day of battle. Smoke drifted across the ruined colony. Buildings that had stood for decades were now rubble. The streets were marked with blood and debris. But the human flag still flew over the central square. Warlord Desek marched through the destruction with his elite guard around him. His yellow eyes surveyed the damage with growing confusion. This was not how conquests were supposed to go. The Corvith should have won hours ago. Instead, they were still fighting. He found the human defenders waiting for him in the square. There were perhaps 100 of them left. Farmers, teachers, engineers, old soldiers. They were wounded, exhausted, and outnumbered. They should have been broken. They were not broken. Daniel Carter stood at the front of the group. His face was covered in blood and dirt. His arm hung at an odd angle, likely broken. A deep gash ran down his leg. He had not slept in 2 days. He could barely stand, but he was still standing. "Commander Carter," Desek said. His voice was quiet now, the arrogance replaced by something else. Confusion, perhaps, or the first seeds of respect. "Your people have fought well, better than any prey I have ever hunted." "We are not prey," Daniel replied. "We never were. Your colony is destroyed. Your ship is in pieces. Your soldiers are dying. You cannot win this battle. Maybe not, but you have not won either." Desek looked at the humans arrayed against him. He saw Patricia Holt, blood soaking through the bandage on her side, still holding her rifle. He saw Lavra Bennett, a Corvith spear still embedded in her shoulder, her eyes cold and ready. He saw Marcus Cole, burns covering his arms, standing like a mountain. He saw Kevin Brooks, the young farmer who had held a position alone for 6 hours, now standing with veterans that none of them were running. None of them were begging for mercy. They simply waited for the next fight. Why? Desek asked. The question seemed to tear itself from him against his will. Your bodies are failing. Your wounds should have killed you. Why do you keep fighting? Daniel limped forward a step. Because we are human. Because fighting is what we do. Because we would rather die standing than live on our knees. That is not logical. Self-preservation should override everything else. For you, maybe. Not for us. Daniel gestured at the people behind him. Do you see them? They are not soldiers. They are farmers and teachers and doctors. A week ago, they were worried about harvests and school schedules and family dinners. Now they are warriors. Because when humans are pushed, we push back. When we are threatened, we fight. When our families are in danger, we become something else entirely. Desek's second-in-command, Sub-Commander Vrexis, leaned close to whisper. Warlord, our scouts report human reinforcements entering the system. 3 battleships from Earth's defense fleet. They will arrive within hours. The warlord's eyes narrowed. He looked at his forces. His warriors had won every battle they had ever fought. They had conquered dozens of worlds. But they had never faced anything like this. His army was bloodied and demoralized. His fleet in orbit was crippled. And reinforcements were coming. We still outnumber them here, Desek said. We can finish this before the ships arrive. He drew his blade, a massive curved sword that had killed hundreds of enemies. His elite guard did the same. Humans, your defiance ends now. I will kill you myself. Daniel drew his own weapon, a simple combat knife that looked like a toy next to the Corvith blade. Then come and try. The battle erupted. Corvith elite guards charged into human defenders. The square became a chaos of blood and steel. Humans fell. Corvith fell. The sound of combat echoed off the ruined buildings. Patricia fought with a fury that shocked the enemies facing her. She killed 2 Corvith warriors with her rifle, then 3 more with her knife when she ran out of ammunition. A Corvith blade found her other side, but she kept fighting. She refused to fall. Lara faced Sub-Commander Vrexus directly. The Corvith officer was faster and stronger. He wounded her twice more. But Lara had survived sieges that lasted months. She knew how to take pain and keep moving. She found an opening and drove her blade into his throat. Marcus protected the wounded, standing over fallen humans like a guardian. He had no weapon except a metal pipe torn from debris. It was enough. Any Corvith who came near him learned that human strength was not just in muscle. Kevin Brooks fought beside veterans who had been killing enemies before he was born. He was terrified. His hands shook, but he did not run. He stood his ground and fought because the people beside him needed him to fight. And at the center of it all, Daniel faced Essek. The warlord was everything Daniel was not. Bigger, faster, stronger. His blade moved like lightning, cutting Daniel again and again. Blood poured from wounds on Daniel's chest, his arms, his face. Every strike should have been fatal. Daniel did not fall. He could not match Essek's strength, so he did not try. He dodged. He deflected. He waited for openings and struck when he could. His knife found Corvith flesh again and again. Small wounds that added up. Essek roared in frustration. "Why will you not die?" Daniel smiled through bloody teeth. "I told you. Fighting is what we do." They exchanged blows for what felt like hours. Daniel's body screamed for rest. His vision blurred. His legs threatened to collapse. But he thought of the people watching him. The farmers and teachers and children hiding in bunkers. If he fell, they would die. He could not let himself fall. Finally, Essek knocked him to the ground. The warlord planted a foot on Daniel's chest and raised his blade for the killing blow. "Any last words, human?" Daniel looked up at the enemy who had come to destroy his people. He thought about everything he had fought for, everything humanity had survived. The ice ages, the plagues, the wars, the near extinctions. Thousands of years of struggle that had forged his species into something that refused to die. "My people are watching," Daniel said, "and I will not let them see me give up." He drove his knife upward into the Essek's leg. The warlord screamed and stumbled back. Before he could recover, a rifle shot rang out. Patricia, lying wounded on the ground 20 meters away, had found one last bullet. The shot took Essek in the shoulder, spinning him around. More shots came. Kevin, Lara, Marcus, every human who could still hold a weapon opened fire. The warlord fell under a storm of bullets, his elite guards scattering in confusion. Silence fell over the square. Daniel lay on his back, staring at the sky. He could hear distant sounds. Ships entering atmosphere. Not Corvith ships. Human ships. The reinforcements had arrived. The battle was over. 3 days later, Daniel woke up in a hospital bed on the carrier Endurance. His body was wrapped in bandages and connected to machines. Dr. Hannah Pierce sat beside him, reading a medical report. "How many?" Daniel asked. His voice was rough. Hannah understood the question. 47 humans died defending Meridian 4, 319 wounded. The colony will need to be rebuilt. And the Corvith? Their fleet retreated. Essek survived his wounds, but faces disgrace among his people. Their invasion failed completely. Daniel closed his eyes. 47 dead. 47 people who would never see their families again. Farmers and teachers and engineers who had become warriors because they had no choice. "The Galactic Council is talking about what happened here," Hannah continued. "Word is spreading. Species that dismissed humans as weak are starting to reconsider." A week later, a Corvith diplomat quietly approached human representatives at a neutral station. He spoke in careful, respectful tones. He asked about the possibility of peace talks. The human ambassador, Claire Dawson, listened to his request. Then she smiled. "We have always preferred peace," she said. "But if anyone threatens our people again, they will learn what we learned on Meridian 4. Humans are kind because we choose to be kind. We are gentle because we choose to be gentle. But we are not weak. We have never been weak." She leaned forward slightly. "Hurt our families, and you will face creatures forged by thousands of years of death. We are the children of a world that tried to kill us every day. We survived. We will always survive." The Corvith diplomat nodded and withdrew. He had come seeking peace. He left understanding why peace with humans was the only wise choice. On Meridian 4, the rebuilding had begun. Patricia Holt refused to leave. She said she had crops to plant. Kevin Brooks was promoted and decorated. He started training other young colonists in defense, and Daniel Carter stood on a hill overlooking the valley. The scars on his body would never fully heal. The memories of battle would stay with him forever. But his people were alive. His people were free. The galaxy had believed humans were fragile. Now they knew the truth. Humans were kind when kindness was possible. Humans were merciful when mercy was deserved. But when pushed to the edge, when everything they loved was threatened, humans became something else entirely. They became survivors. They became warriors. They became the deadliest creatures the galaxy had ever seen, and they would never stop fighting for each other.